I have been following YouTubers talking about mixed martial arts for many, many years. I've been watching Daniel Cormier. I remember the Ariel and DC show that was legendary during the pandemic. I've watched Submission Radio, The Weasel, all these channels. Now the big names are MMA Guru. I'm a huge fan of MMA Joey as well. He's kind of growing, still around like 36,000 subs, but I really like his insights. And what I tend to gravitate towards, as I think most people do, is people who really study the sport, know the sport, are willing to speculate. I have no problem with informed, educated speculation. But where I and a little bit of humor is awesome. I think MMA Joey and MMA Guru have humor, but it's not just solely based around being funny. It's about being grounded in facts, intelligent discussions of the fighters, of the matchups, etc. Where I draw the line and where I have difficulty listening to particular YouTubers who commentate or discuss the sport of mixed martial arts is where there becomes a growing disconnect between reality and just making stuff up to get clicks. And it kind of bothers me because to me, this entire sport is about truth. It's about understanding for the fighters who they really are. It's us experiencing that journey of self discovery through their eyes. And via that process, via their discoveries, we can learn things about ourselves that we can apply to our lives, to our struggles that I think in the grand scheme of things, comparatively, are much less distressing acutely in the moment, right? They're dealing with these life or death situations. They have to go in, they have to deal with injuries, all these crazy traumatic things in a very short, condensed period of time during their careers. And I think they learn so much and extract so much positive information that we can glean that and apply it to our own lives. And I think it's brilliant. So, anyways, as you see here, we have Chael Sonnen on the right hand side. He started the show with DC on ESPN, and I remember when they made Good Guy Bad Guy, I was really disappointed because I love listening to DC, and I was really disappointed that they paired him up with Chael because Chael Sonnen is I guess now you could call him a YouTuber, has a channel that I used to watch him actually back in the day, but I had to stop watching him years ago because I started to realize, like, number one, okay, there's and the question always exists with Chael. Is he just trolling? Is this part of his act? But at this point, whether it's an act or not, I just don't find any value in his channel. Number one. Number two, he talks in circles constantly. And I guess that's part of his shtick. I don't know. This is something that he developed as a fighter, but I just don't find it's so frustrating to listen to him because I don't even think he knows where he's going to go. But I think he's developed this ability to just like keep talking and stringing us along on little circles and offshoots of whatever he's trying to get to. And I just can't do it anymore because it's like there's no elements of real truth or structure or research or logic. And on top of that, he's talking in circles. So I had to tune out. So truth be told, I almost never watch this show. Now I watch DC's channel all the time. I hear little nuggets and whatnot. But anyway, something big happened. And I want to dive into it and talk about it and explain exactly in a little bit more detail. First of all, why these particular statements are ridiculous, which I think needs very little explanation. I think anybody that heard it thought either Chael has just completely lost his mind or perhaps he's trying to create some rage bait here. But I also am going to go back and show an instance of where Chael talks about my co-host on this channel, Justin Jaynes, back in the day. And I know the real story. And again, it's just one more instance of Chael completely fabricating something out of thin air, which was not true. And again, like when it gets to this point where you've caught somebody this many times, essentially being dishonest, why would I have any incentive or desire to listen to that person? So let's start here. They're having a conversation about Islam moving up to fight JDM. And I said this when after Bilal lost to JDM, I was actually, even though I wanted Bilal to win, I was really excited after the fact because I'm like, this makes so many cool changes. Islam is now going to move up. He's going to chase double champ status. And I still call it double champ regardless if it's simultaneous. I think that's stupid to say it's only if you're a double champ, if you hold the belt simultaneously. But anyway, I can talk about that another time. I think it's so exciting to see him expand on the legacy of Khabib and actually be a two-weight division champ. That's amazing. I love Ilya versus Oliveira. I think that's a great fight. I think Ilya's got so much cool competition at lightweight. And why not have two superstars versus we face them off at this time and have one lose? Maybe down the line we can have them fight. But this is so much, I think this is so much more fun. Anyways, so they're talking about this. They're talking about the move up, which I'm very excited about. I think everybody, any logical person will agree that the JDM fight is a tougher fight. It's a bigger fight. He's moving up versus fighting somebody who's arguably at featherweight. I know he just moved up, but tougher challenge. Very, very cool. This is Chael's take on it, which was, again, whether it's rage bait or just some nonsensical fantasy in his mind, this is what he had to say, which was totally ridiculous. And you probably have heard this at this point.
Islam went up not out of courage. Islam did not go up out of adding hardware to put on his mantle. He went up with one condition, which is I don't have to fight Belal Muhammad. Now, he can sit around and say, I could beat Belal, and I wouldn't go up and beat Belal because I can beat Belal. The bottom line is you entered a division openly that you said you wouldn't face one of the top guys. That's not a sign of courage. That's a sign of cowardice. I don't.
So, and I'm going to show you the video later where he tries to deny that he's calling him a coward. He said his move is a sign of cowardice. So how else do you interpret that other than he's a coward? Again, it's these politician-like tricks that he plays with words and going back and forth. And I mean, really, there's no other way to put it than I think he's just being dishonest. But we all know this is just so dumb. He's saying that he didn't go. I think he's trying to insinuate that he was afraid to fight Belal Muhammad, which is just completely ridiculous. We have this happening all the time with friendships and relationships. I know Ariel Helwani even said, I don't know if I buy this friendship thing, and he doesn't want to move up because they're boys. I don't know if I buy that. Dude, they're not. These guys aren't guys to lie and to make stuff up. You think Islam is shying away from fighting anybody for any other reason? He would take on anybody. We know that. Like, I don't even understand why Ariel would say something like that. But again, Chael's kind of insinuating the same thing. Absolutely ridiculous. And I think it's pretty obvious. As good as Belal is, Islam would have handedly beaten Belal. But anyways, this is the first quote where Chael kind of goes off on Islam. And you tell me if you disagree, but he straight up calls him a coward.
I love the idea. You have an undefeated. Make sure you understand what happened. I know this is your friend, DC. I think of Islam as my friend too. But let's think of what happened. You have an undefeated, #1 ranked world champion who's chasing you down. He is willing to leave his division behind. He's willing to walk away from his belt to chase you down. You are so interested in getting away from this guy that you not only leave your belt, you leave your division, and the whole thing is only contingent that you don't have to fight Islam. Not for nothing. This is not the way champions conduct themselves.
So again, and he's trying to say later, oh, I think I misspoke. I never said that he was a coward. You tell me. I mean, not only does he say the word cowardice verbatim, but on top of that, what's the insinuation here? You're running away from a guy who's moving up to fight you. Again, we all know the real scoop. This is ridiculous. He said from the get-go he doesn't want to fight another featherweight moving up because he doesn't feel he gets the proper credibility that he is seeking, the legacy that he is after right now. And the legacy is after is being a double champ, and that's why he's moving up to 170. We all know this, and I think it's very irresponsible for Chael to speak this way, especially about guys who take these words so seriously. Islam, Habib, a lot of these fighters, they don't play with words. They don't talk smack. They don't play these little deceitful games that Chael loves to play that I think is essentially akin to a really, really bad politician. All right, so this is the beginning. Now we're going to go to Chael's appearance on Anthony Smith's podcast, On Paper with Anthony Smith. This happened, I think, a day or two ago. What is it, May 24th? Yeah, so this came out yesterday. So this is Chael's opportunity to, quote unquote, respond. But I think instead of properly responding and addressing or maybe apologizing, he just digs himself deeper with a bit more dishonesty. You judge for yourself, but this is what he has to say in response to calling Islam Makhachev ridiculous, calling Islam Makhachev a coward.
All right, Chael, do you really believe Islam Makhachev ducked and is afraid of Ilia Topuria?
No.
Genuinely.
No. But I've got to tell you this.
We just heard exactly what he said. That's exactly what he said. He said this is a sign of cowardice, essentially calling him a coward. And he said he's running from Ilia, coming up, somebody to chase you. That's exactly how he framed it. Exactly how he framed it. So why not just say yes? I mean, you got or somehow define. He's just saying, nope, that's not what I said. It's clearly what you said.
From this standpoint, I think I was misquoted. In all fairness, I think
that's why I wanted you to come on. I wanted to find out the truth because it didn't say.
There's no misquote. That was his words. It wasn't a article written. That was his words on YouTube right there. You saw it.
Sound like you.
Yeah. So I was describing a scenario, and when I called him was a coward, what got quoted by ESPN and something called MMA Censored, which got a pretty good social media following, is I referred to Islam as a coward. Now, I went back and watched it because I thought, man, if I said that, I would have misspoke. I just want to use that word about Islam, and I don't find him to be a coward. I find him to be a great competitor. But I did describe the scenario, and the scenario I described was that he gets confronted, and it does matter. It matters the order of events. Did Islam inform the UFC of?
Okay, first of all, this is just semantics, politician BS nonsense. He's trying to say, I described this. It's akin to being somebody being like, I don't think you're stupid. I think what your actions are stupid. You could say that, but it's obviously that it ties together, because in that moment, right, you're a continuum of different actions and thoughts. It's not like, right, what you are in your worst moment or your best moment, that's not necessarily you, but that can be said about anything. So he's backpedaling. He's using just political double talk nonsense to try and weave circles around people who may be not paying as close attention to his words, but it's nonsense. He said that's a sign of cowardice. He described what he's doing as an act of cowardice, thereby calling him a coward, at least in that moment. That's obviously what you did, but let's let him keep explaining and digging the hole deeper.
His intention to move to 170 pounds to fight for the title prior to the UFC offering him Ilia Topuria. If the UFC offered and showed that they wanted a title defense against the undefeated 45-pound champion, and he said no, and he said no to the extent that he was willing to leave the division and be stripped, which he was. Don't forget that. They weren't stripping other guys. They have stripped. Islam is not the champion of the world right now, which generally doesn't take place until the bell rings for the next fight. And whatever those semantics are, they stripped him. So my point was, if you want out of a fight so bad that you're willing to leave a division and leave a belt, that would be a sign of cowardice for a future generation that might look back on this moment, hear interviews like you and I were doing. So
just own up to it. You're digging the hole way deeper. This is just ridiculous. You know what you're saying. A sign of cowardice, so you're trying to pitch it and move it so that you didn't explicitly call him a coward. It's just like this type of double talk and this type of manipulation drives me absolutely crazy. And I think it's wrong. Maybe you should instead just apologize for what you said. You know what you said. You know what you're implying. And of course, like at the end of the day, anybody who follows the sport, even to a small extent, knows that this is not the narrative. Islam was going to fight Ilia if Bilal was going to reside as the 170-pound champion, because he wasn't going to fight him. So that's not what happened. You know, that's not what happened. You know that he only moved up once Bilal lost. Has nothing to do with avoiding Ilia. And to frame it any other way is just ridiculous. All right, now we're going to go to the last part of this entire story. I just want to give you guys proof positive from somebody that we all know on this channel, my co-host Justin Jaynes, of an incident where I have inside information because I know what actually happened here. And I talked to Justin explicitly about what Chael's about to say. This is another example of Chael going off on a tangent, just making stuff up and essentially lying, and doing so just like he did to Islam, basically going after somebody's reputation. Why? Like, obviously, we all are going to speculate to some extent, but I do think it's our responsibility to try to at least have it be grounded in something factual. You know, we don't have to maybe live up to the same standards of a journalist, somebody like Ariel Helwani or whatnot, where we need multiple sources and all these things. But to just speculate out of thin air without any even circumstantial evidence, and then where you go out and you harm somebody's reputation, especially the folks from Dagestan who care about their reputation, about their words so much. But even Justin, right? It's irresponsible, and it's just a massive turnoff to me, and I think other fans. And that's why I think people are no longer tuning into Chael's stuff anymore. So anyways, listen to this. He's going to talk about when Justin Jaynes famously bet his entire purse on himself to win. Unfortunately, he lost, but it's a ballsy bet. So check out Chael's discussion.
Justin Jaynes fought over the weekend, and he bet his entire purse on himself, and he lost the fight. And he came out and he said no regrets. Now, I got to tell you, on first glance, I like this guy. Anyone willing to bet on themselves, I like this guy. That's interesting. No regrets, pushing forward, not doing it for the money. Or maybe he was trying to make extra money. Maybe he got greedy and I got it all wrong.
Obviously, he cares about money, and this is just Justin, though. What Chael and most people don't know, unless you know Justin, is he wants to live life to the extreme. He jumped on a whale's back in the open ocean. It went up on ESPN Sports Center. It was extremely dangerous. He wanted to do it. He did it. He wants to climb Mount Everest. He did a bare knuckle fight earlier this year, something that a lot of UFC fighters and MMA fighters don't want to do because the high risk of breaking your hand. He broke his hand. Justin is just that type of guy. And he wanted to do it. He bet on himself. And at that point, you shouldn't have regrets. There's no like, hey, I'm only going to be happy if I win. If you're going into a bet that way, that's the wrong mindset. You got to make that decision and stick to it for better or for worse. And it is what it is. He bet on himself and he lost.
There's something about it that I like. I can't help but smell a rat here. I don't buy it. I don't think he did. The way MMA works, you got to pay your manager and you got to pay your trainer a percentage. I don't know if too many fighters out there fighting on that spot on the card that got extra jing in their pocket that they could go to the window in the first place and put it down. Oh, I'm going to make 10 grand on this fight. Well, here's an extra 10 grand. Here you go. I don't buy.
All right. So I talked to Justin about this, and this was not his first fight in the UFC. So he had cash prior from his prior fights, and he used that cash to pay out his coaches, pay out his trainers. We double checked too. We just went back to make sure, hey, did this all go down? Did you still get paid? You know, did his coaches still get paid even after he lost the bet? So he texted them while I was on a call with him. And yes, it was confirmed that he took the cash that he had previously saved from his previous fight, and he still paid everybody out. But Chael didn't bother to check this out. I get it. But making these kind of speculations, and again, this is not in isolation. As we can see, we have another previous example recently with Islam, but it goes on and on and on. And I don't even watch this stuff that much. So there's probably hundreds of examples like this that I've missed. But this is what he does. He speculates in an irresponsible fashion, and it's harming people's reputation. I'm just not a fan of it. I'll let him finish this.
By the story. I think it was a good story. I think it was well told. I think it was well placed. I think it was meaningful for a headline. And from one hustler to another, I'm giving him his due.
He's not a hustler, so don't put him in your category.
I'm getting the name out there. It does remind me of a time, I must tell you, Tito. The great Tito Ortiz had bet on a fight. I believe it was a Chris Cyborg fight. Whatever fight.
All right, now he's talking about some other example, whatever. Let me tell you something. Justin has never pulled out of a fight. And he's had 79 fights. That includes amateur and professional bouts. Never pulled out of a fight. We know the things. I'm not going to go into it, but we all know kind of what Chael has gone through, the suspensions, etc. This is not Justin. Don't put him in that category of you're a hustler, I'm a hustler, I respect you as a hustler, blah, blah, blah. That's not what happened. He did it. He actually did it. Justin actually stands behind his words, and his actions represent his words. He said he was going to do it. He did it. He lost that $25K. Don't go out there now after he already has to deal with this $25,000. I know this is years ago, but $25,000 loss, bets everything. And then you're calling him a liar. This is really, really bad. Anyways, just wanted to shed light on this little story to give you some more insight and more perspective on what's happened with this whole Islam being a coward debacle, which it is a debacle. And it's an embarrassment, in my opinion. You know, to use words that recklessly, especially when you're on a platform like ESPN. Anyways, that's my 2 cents. This is something I'm not trying to make it a priority of like crapping on other people or other YouTubers or former fighters and things like that. But this is something that I've wanted to talk about for some time because, as I mentioned, I did used to listen to Chael's channel. I did used to want to hear his insights, and I can't anymore. I do wonder if other people feel the same way. And it's a combination of the lack of integrity, I guess, or you want to say, or the lack of honesty or the lack of due diligence, coupled with this way of talking that just reminds me of one big political debate nonsense where he's just going in circles and doesn't really know how to connect the dots, but kind of connects the dots, but people get lost along the way. I don't know. It's a whole crazy thing. I can't do it anymore. Anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. What do you feel about Chael's comments about not only Islam, but also Justin? Do you feel like those are two peas from the same pod? Let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for joining, and we'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.